Extreme weather events are impacting several countries of the world, unleashing unprecedented devastation on homes, public places, and resulting in huge economic losses as well as fatalities. This is Environment Matters, reaching you from the network services of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. I'm Onengiye Fineface.
There's nothing better than the roar of your fans. But in Nigeria, there's a roar that may not be heard again. With fewer than 50 lions left in the wild, they could be extinct in the next few years. From loss of habitat and prey, and snares set for illegal bushmeat. Please say no to illegal bushmeat, and let's keep the roar alive for Nigeria. Poaching steals from us all.
In Australia, flood is inundating homes after days of torrential rain in Sydney, which caused rivers to swell and pour over roads and into suburban streets. Thousands of people on Australia's east coast fled their homes as torrential rains tracked north after unleashing floods that submerged communities, roads and bridges under mud-brown water. Authorities warn that rising rain, swollen rivers still posed danger despite easing rainfall in the city. In Nicaragua, Central America, residents on the coast of the Atlantic are taking shelter as Tropical Storm Bonnie barrels towards shore. Locals are forced to leave their belongings behind as they scramble to safety from the raging storm. And elsewhere in Pakistan, frequent, intense heat waves linked to climate change are causing three of the world's most spectacular mountain ranges to melt. The Himalayas, Hindu Kush and Karakoram, forming the largest reservoir of ice outside the poles in Pakistan's mountainous north, which is home to more than 7,000 glaciers, are fast dissolving. Now, melting glaciers swell lakes, which then burst their banks and unleash torrents of ice rock and water in events known as glacial lake outburst floods. A similar collapse of glacier is impacting the Italian Alps, which has left people dead and others injured. The disaster, which occurred after a record temperature of 10 degrees Celsius at the top of the glacier, is linked to deteriorating environment and the climatic situation, especially global warming. While glaciers are melting, some parts of Italy's Po River are drying up due to worsening drought that has plagued the Po Valley in recent weeks. Meanwhile, Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the United States that stores water for tens of millions of people in the Southwest, is shrinking at a terrifying rate and now stands just one quarter full. Climatologists say 2 decades of drought is not unheard of in the western United States, but combined with human-caused global warming, it is transforming the region.
You know, I mean, every day someone's ripping a drive off because last week, where there was no rock, now, you know, it's a foot down or 2 feet down within a week or two, and so things are exposed. So, you know, you've got houseboats are getting beached and stuck, and people are ripping their lower units off. People who haven't been here don't appreciate it. You know, it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Harmony of biodiversity destroyed, birthing climate crisis and crying faces.
Dicey situation indeed, yet we carry on like a bull in a china shop.
On Environment Matters, we take the bull by the horns, comb the nooks and cranny of Nigeria.
Asking tough questions.
Examining challenges and opportunities.
Giving human face to the science, facts, faiths, and global agreements. It's a call for action. Don't miss it.
Join award-winning environmental journalist Jennifer Igwe and other NTA Eco reporters for Environment Matters.
While the global community is counting losses from extreme weather events, several communities, cities, and states in Nigeria are already struggling to survive the rainy season. Heavy downpour in July is wreaking havoc on private and public spaces, claiming lives, destroying homes, washing off roads, and causing damages to property and livelihoods in the country. Now, following heavy downpour in Lagos, lives were lost and property submerged. And as if that is not bad enough, there is palpable fear among residents that they may lose more as the long rains persist.
Where is the gutter we have so that when we are flushing, the water will go through the gutter, but even all the gutters they do is blocked. When gutter is down, the house is up.
Within last week, we just seen that the water is coming from the ground.
And some people were not even around, so it enters their room, TV, spoils so many electronics and.
We dey fear this one now we fall again. Now wahala for us. We dey fear.
In Benin, Edo State, an orphanage at number 19th Street, Ugbowo, is ravaged by flood, which is now affecting the capacity of that orphanage located in the area to provide shelter and care for its inmates.
This is one of the children's room. When we discover that it's not what we can handle, we have to move the children out of the room.
What is paining me is that when they are grading this road, and we observed what they did, that they packed sand where the water flowed in the area. We met them and explained to them that there is a tendency that when it rains, our house will be in danger because they carry the sand and cover the place that rain enters when it falls. They say they are coming to do it. They are coming to do it. We keep on reminding them. Before we could have known what is going on, all the rooms are flooded. My documents, thank God, the triplets were in the room lying down. They called me that their rooms are flooded. We have to rush them to the bigger bed.
We are begging the government to come to our aid because from what we are seeing, I'm not sure any individual can control this situation.
They block all the old waterways, the place that water is supposed to pass, and now the water cannot skate through. You can see my cement shop. Water entered my cement shop.
I was at home this morning where they called me that I should rush down to make sure that water has taken over the whole shop. So on my getting here, man, both material that I want to use to work, people's job that I have already done, wardrobe and all, water have already destroyed them.
What's cute, harmless, and depends on its mother for food and protection? Well, me of course, but also a shy little creature called the pangolin. Hundreds of thousands of pangolins are hunted and killed every year just for their meat and scales. If we continue this way, the pangolins will soon disappear. We can't allow this to happen. Tell your families and friends to say no to illegal bushmeat from pangolins and other protected animals. Keep them wild, keep us safe.
Let's take a look at the case of Tamia Bridge, bordering Kano and Jigawa State, which collapsed, forcing communities in the area to improvise local means of transportation to bypass the flood.
The collapse of the bridge has compelled the neighboring communities of Yerondame, Igi, and Kafungana and other nearby communities to adopt an alternative means of canoes and boats to cross over the two sides of the bridge to their destinations. It is glaringly dangerous because of how safety measures are being compromised through overloading as well as the general condition of the boats. Members of this committee say that remains the only alternative if they are to reach out to the nearby markets and farms among other places.
My call is to hasten the completion of the bridge because of its commercial importance. We are happy work has started.
Badamasi Inusa Kafungana and Ladidi Mustafa Sabulari were among those I met just about to be taken to the other side of the river, and they share their experience.
Gaskiya mutane suna shan wahala sosai a gurin gashi kuma ana aikin gada aikin ya tsaya ba sa aiki gaskiya.
Abin da yasa muke so a gyara mana gadan nan mu gadan nan rufin asiri shago mu kaga mu talakawa ne yanzu muna dan sai ka daki ana wucewa da shi ana dawowa da shi idan ba gadan nan kaga ai bara mu sai yanzu kaga muna so mu sai kayan amma saboda in muka biyo da hita nan bara mu sami yadda muke so kaga ni ba ma saya
in ka zo haura wannan kudin da za ka batar kudin ya bashi ga tsadar mashin ga tsadar tsallaka kogi ga tsadar bayan ka tsallaka din ninkin wanda ka biya shi za ka sake biya ka tafi inda za ka je.
Motorists who are unaware of the challenge caused by the flood are resorting to alternative route of Modobi and Shuarun of Kiawa local government in Jigawa state, which they describe as a longer route. For now, the road has been closed for vehicles to allow for smooth repairs, as well as to avoid motorists who are unaware from accidentally falling into the river. The communities appeal to government to ensure that contractors speed up the work with a view to reducing their sufferings. This is, however, subject to the low level of the water flow.
So these are issues that you cannot stop. The only thing that you can do is, one, to warn the people in areas that are vulnerable to the flooding to be on the alert.
Communities affected by flooding in Jigawa State this year are optimistic that the situation will get better if authorities and themselves join hand and do the needful to avoid future occurrence.
This is the beginning of the rainy season, and flooding has already started. If the water will be diverted so that it doesn't have to come in here, I think we'll really do away with this flooding issue. And even now, we have started talking to residents actually to see what we can do at our own level, and we also have to go back to the government again, complain about the same thing, and see whether we can still submit our complaint to the government that, okay, this incident of flooding has still occurred.
They advise the relevant stakeholders to focus on the redesigning of the waterways to prevent residential, farmlands, among other infrastructures from being overflooded.
Curious about how government policies on healthcare are faring? Do you enjoy learning about wellness concept and the many options available? Then watch Health Options on the NTA.
Mr. President has led by example. Take the COVID-19 vaccine.
Somebody can say, hey, I woke up this morning, I felt some tingling in my hand, some weakness, my face was, I couldn't speak well. That's a warning stroke, and it shouldn't be ignored.
The carrots contains carotene. Tomatoes is a colored plant. It has carotene. Pepper has carotene.
50% of our diet should be green vegetables and fruits.
Join leading experts on both orthodox and alternative medicine for all the enlightenment you need for a healthier you.
Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Rabi Abdullah.
Annual flood predictions from the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NESA, indicate that what is being experienced now might just be the beginning of the devastation expected as the rains peak. The flood outlook also anticipates inflows from rivers Niger and Benue between July and September.
We should be expecting more as we get into the peak of rainy season in Nigeria, and we know that rainfall is a major causative agent when it comes to flooding. And there doesn't seem to be any help in sight, because this is not the period of taking some remedial measures by clearing certain things. It's a little bit late. At this stage, what we should be doing is to intensify efforts in enlightening the people to prepare in case of this happens. You can't go to begin to construct drainages at this time. You can't go and start deseating small canals or rivers. Like if you talk about Lagos State, for instance, I lived there many years back. There are so many canals. They call it system 6, system 4, system 3, depending on the location. These systems, for instance, in Lagos, ought to have been deseated, cut all those things that should have been cutted away in the drainages to allow for free flow, deepen the carrying capacity of the channels. It may not be easy to do that now, but what I'm saying, what could be done now is let the people's minds be readied that certain things could happen. Let there be enlightenment campaigns.
Take action now. Prepare for the worst and be ready to move to safety when the need arises. That's the message from NESA.
Harmony of biodiversity destroyed, birthing climate crisis and crying faces.
Dicey situation indeed, yet we carry on like a bull in a china shop.
On environment matters, we take the bull by the horns, comb the nooks and cranny of Nigeria.
Asking tough questions.
Examining challenges and opportunities.
Giving human face to the science, facts, faiths, and global agreements. It's a call for action. Don't miss it.
Join award-winning environmental journalist Jennifer Igwe and other NTA Eco reporters for Environment Matters.
Let's now turn our attention to a recent report released by the United Nations on food systems. The 2022 edition of the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World SOFI report presents updates on the food security and nutrition situation around the world, including the latest estimates of the cost and affordability of a healthy diet. The number of people affected by hunger globally rose to as many as 828 million in 2021, according to the UN report that provides fresh evidence that the world is moving in reverse away from the Sustainable Development Goal of ending hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition in all its forms by 2030, when the SDGs are supposed to be realized.
The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World SOFI 2022 report indicates that world hunger rose further in 2021, with between 708 and 828 billion people facing hunger. Almost 3.1 billion people could not afford a healthy diet and not on track to achieve global nutrition targets. These statistics indicates that in many ways, the intensification of the major driver of food security and malnutrition, mainly conflict, climate change, economic shocks, and inequality are not addressed.
We could still be facing chronic hunger in 2030 at the same level as in 2015 when the 2030 agenda was launched. This is a shocking report card of our efforts to end hunger, and we can and we must do better. This, of course, includes the billions who have limited, rationed, cut back on, or otherwise consumed less food and of less nutritious value than they otherwise would. However, not all numbers are clarion calls of bad news. I'm happy to see that steady progress has been made on exclusive breastfeeding. We still have to accelerate our progress to meet the respective 2030 target.
While there are efforts to make progress towards SDG 2, they are proving insufficient in the face of a more challenging and uncertain context. The current recessionary context makes it even more challenging for governments to invest in the transformation of agri-food systems, which is urgently needed. Let us also be mindful that fighting hunger and malnutrition is also about repurposing our efforts and resources to live in harmony with our planet. Transformed agri-food systems need to be part of the solution to climate change and biodiversity loss, with the resolve of our youth and the power of innovation and science-informed policies, paving a more promising pathway on the road to 2030 and beyond.
Our visions and commitments to ensure sufficient food and nutritious diets for everyone, everywhere, must be followed by action. Transforming our food systems must be our foremost priority. Rethinking and reprioritizing the way we consume and produce food so that these activities are more sustainable and leave less impact on our environment is now essential.
Food and Agriculture Organization and other core partners say state and non-state actors need to rethink how to adjust existing public budgets to make healthy diet more affordable in a sustainable manner, as well as leaving no one behind.
We must not only be worried about the recent setbacks in progress towards SDG 2, but about the current and the future context as well. The ongoing war in Ukraine, together with other extended conflict around the world, is a further disrupting supply chains and pushing back up the price of the food, grain, fertilizer, and energy, leading to the shortage and high food prices inflation.
We are now only 8 years away from 2030, but as we show in this report, the distance to reach many of these SDG 2 targets is growing wider each year. But the report doesn't want to stay just by giving the photograph, which is not a good photograph, as this was mentioned before, but also to try to dig deeper how we can handle with existing budgets and existing government support in food and agricultural sector to try to improve and accelerate the process to the food system transformation.
We must also learn from the past and look to the future. We must urgently scale up investments in long-term sustainable development today so that when the next crisis hits, we are better prepared and those who are most vulnerable are more resilient and able to withstand the shock. Wars, locusts, pandemic, droughts, crises have many causes, but they all invariably hurt the poor and the most marginalized.
Conflicts, crises, climate change, and COVID-19 are driving a global nutrition crisis, and the poorest, most vulnerable children are paying the highest price. In the 15 countries most affected by the crisis, UNICEF estimates that 8 million children under the age of 5 are suffering from severe wasting, the most life-threatening form of child undernutrition.
This new report shows how realigning food and agricultural policies can increase access to nutritious foods and make food systems more healthy, equitable, and sustainable. WHO supports countries' efforts to improve food systems through taxing unhealthy foods and subsidizing healthy options, protecting children from harmful marketing, and ensuring clear nutrition labels.
The World Food Programme's latest analysis reveals that today a record 345 million acutely hungry people are marching to the brink of starvation. The number shot up from what was 276 million since the start of 2022 before Ukraine, and from 135 million pre-COVID. There's a real danger it will climb even higher in the months ahead.
Participants agree for resilient building, reduce inflation, open the market, empowering local farmers and women, among other recommendations. This is the 4th edition of the Sophie Report launch.
And with the Sophie Reports, we conclude this episode of Environment Matters. Join us next time for another outing on the program. I'm Onengiye Fineface.